So I grew up building buildings. Okay, I grew up on a farm, but I also grew up building buildings. So, I grew up welding and bolting and erecting and plumbing buildings and all of the fun that goes with it. And it goes driving the truck, cleaning the painters, painting. I mean, the list just goes on. So and those are all very rewarding and actually very beneficial at different times in my career. Um, so I was raised in the trades. Okay. Now, growing up in the '90s, graduating college or high school in the '90s, the only push, and I think it's starting to reverse now, but the only push was you go to college. Okay, you must go to college in order to be successful in life. I, you know, I was on a college path, and I don't think there was ever any question in my mind that I would go to college. But I always felt, and I think we're starting to prove it now in reality, is not everybody is meant for college, and that is, I know, completely not PC, and I understand that, but the reality is that not everybody is meant to college, and more so that you may be able to have a much happier life in the trades or doing there's a lot of other things than just going to college and using your brain. There are a lot of things that you're brawn, and if it fits your life and fits who you are, and there's a lot of pride in what you do. I mean, look at the most crude example, and I find this it's one of those things that I never want to do as a full-time thing. I would do it. I don't, I'm not above doing it, but I don't. It's not what I'm desiring to do. But there are people out there that love being a garbologist, right? Because they like to have a fancy title, garbage man. Okay, they love it. They live it. They breathe it. They are it. That is what they live for. They only live to be the best garbologist, that they can be every single day. That is what you want in your life. They work to do their job better, to be more efficient at it, to love what they're doing and enjoy it. Now, I easily could have stayed in the fabrication industry. I easily could have become an erector, an iron worker, full time. And honestly, I would have enjoyed them. But for me, the difference is that wouldn't have fulfilled me. So I need, and selfishly, which is one of the few areas in life I feel everybody should be selfish, is I need to enjoy what I'm doing. I need to be proud of what I'm doing. I need to continually grow at what I'm doing. That's the parts of life that make me grow as a person, makes me better at what I do, and I hope make people want to be around me, because that is the passion I bring to what I do. And so if people are not meant to be pushing papers, because trust me, all of us are not, but they do want to be in this industry. Being an engineer, there's a lot of different branches. My brother-in-law is a project manager for a major general contracting firm. Hasn't done a calculation since he got out of college in engineering. So he hasn't designed a beam or whatever, but he's done lots of other things. He's running, multi-million-dollar projects regularly and currently flying across the country to do them. And he's a civil engineer just like the rest of us. So you have to realize that just because you've got this, blinder approach to this is what an engineer has to do. Two things. You don't necessarily have to be in this lane in engineering, because there's a lot of lanes, okay? And you could be working in the design, you could be construction, you could be forensic, you could be conceptualizing, you could be, I'm sure we can throw about 10 other words out there that, that most people won't make sense of, but they do apply to our industry. But so there's a whole wide array where you use some of your basis, and you can be anywhere in this career. But you also don't need to be in this career. You can be, and I revere my dad. My dad has, built multiple businesses and all this. And I'm not saying this to tout him up or anything more than I really, his role model was unbelievable to me, because he was very, he was doing stuff and he was always constantly moving. But my dad has designed multiple buildings, and some of them complex, and worked with hundreds of engineers, I'm going to guess, and done some really innovative projects. My dad barely has his high school diploma. I mean, has no college, I know that. He has his high school diploma, but, he'll tell you he's the dumbest one in the room. But he's the guy that when they have a problem, like, this kind of goes back to value engineering, when they have a problem, like, how are we going to do it? They say, hey, Irv, how are we going to do this? And then they come up to a solution. So just because he's not an engineer, which he's more qualified than some of the engineers we run into, he still is doing everything he loves, and he's very successful at it.